Hello! Welcome to LVLS Plus Weekly episode 43. And we've got a docket today, so let's dive in. We're going to be talking about the Game Awards. We're going to be talking about pickups, and I've got a couple important figures in my life who had passed away this week. So there's quite a bit to discuss. I will say off the top that this segment is recorded after a very busy week at work, so I'm going to try to keep my energy up, and boom! So, just in case you notice I'm starting to get a little down towards the end of the Game Awards talk, that's why. So let's start with the eulogy pieces. I want to start with Keiko Nobumoto, who was quite the writer for anime and video games. She was one of the lead writers on Cowboy Bebop, and as my shirt here attests, I love that show. I think it's the greatest TV anime series that's ever been done. Just an incredible job of creating such compelling characters, fascinating stories, and a dynamic universe. Just that alone is monumental in the loss that we now have with her passing. She also wrote Tokyo Godfathers, Wolves Reign, and Macross Plus, and was a scenario writer in Kingdom Hearts. So, my deepest condolences to Nobumoto's family and friends. You will be missed. The second person I want to eulogize today is Masayuki Uemura, who was the designer of the Famicom and the Super Famicom, as well as the Famicom Disk System and the Color TV game, which was Nintendo's first actual home console in the late 70s. So I've got this Nintendo journal here to kind of represent Uemura today, because my NES and NES Mini are hanging out up there, and I didn't want to tear apart the whole display. But if it's not abundantly clear by now, the NES was monumental for me. That's the system that I could claim as my own. I got it when I was, I think, 3. 1986, I want to say, maybe early 87, and I spent much of my childhood with that system until I got an N64 in 1996. So I put a lot of mileage into my NES, and it basically set the foundation for what I'm doing now, doing these videos, writing this blog, creating books about this particular console. I think that what Uemura created with the NES's Japanese equivalent to the Famicom is monumentally important, and without the Famicom, would the video game industry even be what it is now? I don't think so. I really don't. And then continuing on with the Disk System add-on, which we never saw over here, and the Super Famicom, and just what a legacy Uemura had with Nintendo. So my deepest condolences go out to Uemura's family and friends, and what another monumental loss for the world in all seriousness. So kind of a heavy starter, but I felt like I need to pay homage to people that really touched me on a deep personal level to kick things off today. So, the main topic for today is the Game Awards. So, let me just get myself set up here. And we'll do what they do over there, and we'll world premiere my thoughts on the Game Awards. If you want to see my reaction to the Game Awards, the link is going to be right here for you. It's about an hour. Considering the show was 3.5 hours, I think I did you a great service by trimming it down considerably. I didn't even really pay hardly any attention to the awards part. I know that Metroid Dread won Best Action Adventure Game, which it totally deserved. It's a wonderful game. It's my game of the year, unless I magically play something that really checks off some amazing boxes, considering Dread entered my top 10. But I don't foresee that in the next 3 weeks. But the unsurprising shock, and it's a weird thing to combine those two words because they're synonyms in a way. But It Takes Two won Game of the Year, and at least my favorite streamers, Keita Nash and Cap for the Win, really did not like that game, and they just kind of persevered through it despite not liking it, and ended up being a really rough playthrough for them. So I never watched it. And then ProZD and his friend Jay have been doing it, and I watched a bit up to a point where the parents decide to destroy their child's favorite toy to make her cry so they can revert back to being human. And at that point, I was like, these characters are trash. They are absolute trash. And I backed out. I was done. So I just, and apparently that game just keeps going and going, because I think that as of today, they're still playing on ProZD's channel. How is this game this long? I'm sure it's fine. I haven't played it, so I don't have a argument beyond the story, but it was just kind of and it's Kojima wasn't there. There was no real strong this is a Game Awards winning game. You could sometimes just tell when a game's gonna win at all. And I was you know what? We got Resident Evil Village, and we got Metroid Dread, and Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet and Clank. Some other game that unfortunately I forgot, and I'm sorry. And It Takes Two. It's you know, I think It Takes Two is going to probably end up being the one that wins it because of the creator's affiliation with the award show. And hey, I was right. So, overall, I did not care for the show, and out of those 3.5 hours, I would say I maybe gleaned 30 minutes of genuine okayness to hype. But nothing, nothing made me go, oh my god, and freak out a lot. Beyond King of Fighters, but we'll get to that in a second. So, if I were to rate the show, I probably would rate it a D+, C- for just, I guess the Keeley formula is not my favorite. I don't think he's a very exciting host to watch, and this year in particular, when I actually was forced to watch him, just the advertising was just really obnoxious this year, even more so than in past years. I swear every time I actually turned it on to hear Keeley talk, he was talking about Spotify, or he was talking about some other promotional thing. There were so many that I don't remember. I just remember Spotify in particular. He's trying to make this into such a big deal, but ultimately, at least for me personally, a lot of these reveals just kind of fell flat. Just went. But here's 10 things. 10 things that I actually got at least somewhat interested or excited by. And I had to really work on this. I actually reviewed my video here, because that's what's on the screen. To go, what was it that I actually was excited about? So let's start with Forspoken, which is probably the game that I'm got the most excited by during the event, that I don't really have any connection to. Just the way that game looks is to play. Looks so much fun to me. Just the movement and the combat and the way that the spells look, it just looks super rad. And I'm pretty stoked about it. It's a PS5 exclusive, unless I wanted to play it on PC. So that's definitely a really strong reason for me to get a PlayStation whenever they're available. We also had Elden Ring, which, you know, I have to say that I was watching some people play the demo, or beta, a few weeks ago, and if any game from Software were to get my attention, it's this one, because you have mobility that you don't have in like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. The fact that you can jump, I know that sounds silly, but it's something that makes me more interested in it, because one of the things that really made it hard for me to get into Demon Souls was just like, you're just kind of stuck in position, and you can roll, but you can only do so much with it because you have a stamina meter. So if I'm going to get into these complex Souls-like games, I need to have a little bit more flexibility in how I can move around in the environment. Elden Ring's also much brighter than those games. I guess I'm just not really into the dark, gothic, minimal lighting aesthetic right now in my life. But Elden Ring's got more dynamic looking environments, a lot more color, and it looks like the flexibility in the fighting system is more my speed of things. So I'm interested in it, and the lore trailer, which was basically what we saw, was pretty cool. And if I could find it quickly, this whole bananas effect, you can't see it very well, but like this blew me away. Like that was the most hype I had in the entire show, was just this gorgeous flower hair explosion that happened in this part. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about Elden Ring, oddly enough. I don't know if it's something I'd pick up right away. I would definitely be reading a lot into it to make sure it's something that I would actually want to play. But it's definitely the most I've personally been invested in a From Software game. So let's talk. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one, because this was just a surprise. Which was, what are they calling this character now? The artist formerly known as K9999. Cronin. What a surprise to see this tweaked design come back. If you want to talk about shattering expectations, which I think I even said during the reaction, bringing this guy, who was basically Tetsuo from Akira in his original appearance on King of Fighters 2000, bringing him back, tweaking him just a bit to make him a little more legally distinct, but adding this to kind of signify that, yeah, this is still the same character. And watching a side-by-side of how K9999 and Cronin act, it's basically the same character. They just tweaked him quite a bit. But that's wild. That is the wildest pick for them to bring back, because that's basically lawsuit. That's how blatant that character was to Akira. So that was really cool. So mad props to SNK for just really finally shattering some real expectations, because we haven't had a character that I think has been a big surprise like this for a while. Ash maybe would have been the last one. But there's just been a lot of KOF 14 characters getting promoted up. But this guy, never thought he'd come back. I want to give a shout out to Thunderful's Planet of Lana again. That's a game I certainly did talk about quite a bit when it was happening on the show. It's gorgeous. One of the most beautiful looking indie games that I've seen recently. Beautiful looking art. Just incredible art direction on this game. And it falls into that delightful niche that I've really come to enjoy, which is this more artful indie platformer where it's less focused on combat and fighting and more about telling a story through the genre of platforming. I don't know how actiony this game's actually it is in final concept, but what they've shown has not been a whole lot of combat. Just running through these really gorgeous looking environments. It's an Xbox exclusive though, so unfortunately I don't know if I'll ever get to play it unless Thunderful releases it down the road on other systems. So Slitterhead is the latest game from the creator of Silent Hill. And also brought in the composer of many Silent Hill games, Akira Yamaoka, one of my favorite composers. And I rewatched this trailer after the reaction, and that music track is a banger. It's really good. It's like, oh my god, it's Yamaoka. I haven't got a chance to play anything that he's done in a while because I don't care much for Grasshopper's output. So just having a game helmed by the creator of Silent Hill with the musician that gave that series its defining sound and music, what a match. And it looks really compelling. It looks definitely more actiony than Silent Hill. So I am very intrigued by this game and want to know more about it. Thirsty Suitors. It reminds me of Sayonara Wild Hearts. And you're basically a young woman who has returned home and is now having to fend off like your relatives trying to put you on dates. And just trying to cope with this visit and all that. And the gameplay looks really compelling. I love the art design. This is something I'm definitely interested in. I don't know if it's coming to Switch though, which is going to definitely affect my ability to get super hyped about it because I don't know when I'm getting a next gen system. Not for a while. But this was probably my favorite indie of the show. Followed very closely by Have a Nice Death, which is adorable, cute looking game. I love the art style of this so much. And then the gameplay is like full on Metroidvania. You can kind of see numbers and stuff. Yeah, there we go. But I've read about it as it's more of a roguelike, which I'm not too surprised. That seems to be kind of a big thing with Metroidvanias right now, is combining it with Souls stuff. But I love the art. The art's really cool. And I'd like to learn more about the game and hope that it comes to Switch, because then I can potentially play it sooner. I'll go ahead and lump the last big indie thing. Even though I am not interested in buying it, I'm going to give Best Trailer of the Show to Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, because of these really charming models that they built to kind of frame everything around. These dioramas are awesome. And I was even joking during the reaction that wouldn't it be cool if they just changed the art style of Cuphead to look like this? And if they made like a 3D Cuphead, that's kind of what I would like to see. Best Trailer. I'm not going to play it because I don't like hard games all that much. And that's the definition of Cuphead, is really hard. But in terms of like production values and captivating trailers, it was Cuphead all the way. In terms of the trailer that made me probably want to buy a PS5 more than anything else, Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Forbidden West looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the way that they did that trailer was incredibly well edited. Just it flows from one scene to the next, and Aloy's costumes change from one scene to the next, and it's like it does it organically within the gameplay to make it look really cool. So that's my other pick for slickest trailer is Horizon. Sony did a good job. Let's talk about the Sonic duo. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie. Wow. I didn't include the entire trailer in my reaction because I didn't want the footage to get flagged. But I was very impressed. And Idris Elba is a great Knuckles. Wow. Can we have that be in real life, please? I think that Jim Carrey is really leaning into Robotnik even more. Like, this is where that character should be. And it just looked good. It looked good. It looked corny, but it looked good. I'm very excited about it. What a 180 that series did. Because if it actually had stuck the landing with the original art that they had for Sonic, and they went with it for the final product, we would not see this movie. No one would have went to go see this movie and seeing Tails and Knuckles with that horrible face animation that they did. That would not have happened. The Sonic Frontiers is really interesting. I don't know if it's something that I will buy right away, but a Breath of the Wild-esque Sonic game sounds kind of interesting. I don't know if Sonic Team's going to pull it off, though, because honestly, when was the last time Sonic Team pulled together and actually made a great game, that one that most people really like? It was arguably Sonic Generations or Sonic Colors. And both of those are generations ago. So I don't know if they're going to pull this off, but you know what? At least they're swinging for the fences. They're doing something different. So kudos to them. I don't know exactly how to pronounce this because I don't speak the language of New Caledonia, but I'm going to guess it's Tachia. This game looks sick. And Sony had their branding all over it, so it looks like it's going to be a PlayStation exclusive. I am digging what I see about this game. It's a Zelda-like game. You're wandering around. You can possess objects and animals and use that to move around or manipulate the environment. You utilize music. It looks so good. And it's starring a young woman of color. There's actually quite a few games on here that have women of color as their protagonists, which is fantastic. So good. This looks so fun. So I'm glad that I remembered it when I was flipping through the footage, because I totally blissed it because I kind of got lost in there. So yeah, that's what I thought was the good stuff in the Game Awards. Ultimately, I thought it was a meh show, though. I'm glad that there was some cool stuff shown off, but no Nintendo whatsoever. They just had 3 little sizzle reel type of things, and they won Metroid Dread, so Doug Bowser came up, and he just doesn't have Reggie's charisma, so watching him give a victory speech is not the same as if Reggie doing it, and I'm just going to have to accept that Doug Bowser's not as charismatic as Reggie Fils-Aimé. And just a lot of samey. There was a lot of sci-fi, dystopic, shooty mans in this award show that I really got tired of it. I get so much more excited at like wholesome directs now, which I didn't do a live reaction to the last one, but maybe I should next time they do one, because that's kind of where my heart is. And yeah, I feel like in some ways it was a waste of time, and in some ways, you know, it was still fun to do. So yeah, that's the Game Awards 2021. Just a very long-winded blah. I'm not sure how I feel. Anyway, thanks for listening to me talk about it. Let's go ahead and cat intermission, and we'll jump into the many pickups I got this week. I'm back, and it's nighttime film shoot in the winter, which means it's very dark, and I have to use my phone to create semblances of light. So I have a lot of pickups coming this week, and the first of them has arrived on Monday. So soon, and this is what I was talking about in the last episode. This is from my friend JD. He has kindly sent me a medley of mysterious items. I know a couple of the things in here, but genuinely speaking, I actually have no real idea of what's in this box. And it's a decent sized box, and it's got a decent amount of heft to it. So let's go ahead and start digging in. See what's in here. Alright, so first up is Grandia 2. This is one of the things I expected him to ship me. It's complete, even with the soundtrack disc. Wow, I haven't had that in a while. I've had Grandia 2 before, but I sold it off, but I'm really happy to have it back. And I've got a thing. I got a thing that I'm gonna have to ask him what this is. It looks like it might be some sort of streaming device of some sort, maybe. I'm gonna have to ask him. All right, continuing on, I've got this apparel of clothing. Cute. It's a cat. It looks a bit like Flavi's. I appreciate this. This is great. Alright, so there's an envelope here. I'll get to that at the end. It's a Project X Zone poster. I've never played those. Now I'm intrigued if it's actually in here. This is a meditation drum CD. That's cool. I'll give that a listen. I like meditating. This is Whole Tones, the Healing Frequency Music Project. I know nothing about this as well, but I'll give it a try, see if it's something that resonates with me or not. Paint Shop Pro X7. This is back a bit, but could be some neat stuff on there that my current Paint Shop Pro does not have. The Secret of Kells. I actually would really excited about getting this. I liked this movie when I watched it once upon a time. The Super Castlevania 4 manual. That's cool. I don't have that game yet. This is the Secret of Mana poster from Nintendo. No, this is actually straight up from Squaresoft. This is awesome. I love this art. This is my, I think I had this as my favorite box art of all time. So that's really exciting. I think I'll actually hang that up. Terranigma. This is a ROM hack that localized the PAL version for North American Super Nintendos. So I finally get to play that game. That's one of the things I didn't know about. Graphic Design Studio, more software. Grandia Extreme. The Grandia nobody really seems to like. Well, I have it now. I'll see if I like it. And we're getting near the bottom here, but still not quite done. This is really cool. What I'm about to pull out here. This is the line work for the first Frequent Fantasy cover. This is awesome. This is so cool. then these are the line work for the so this webcomic panels that I did guest stuff for. This is so cool. I love JD's art anyway, so having the originals is just awesome. And then I got the Illusion of Gaia issue of Nintendo Power, which I'll have to flip through. I didn't have that one. And I have emptied the box. That's all that was in here. This was super fun. I like JD boxes. I always never know what to expect when I get a JD box. And there's a letter to me, so I'm going to read that privately. But this is only the beginning. There will be more pickups. I've got so much more coming. So, quick edit and boom, more stuff. I got a bunch of Femtendo stuff in the mail. Namely, the book. Yay! I actually got 3 copies of this. 2 are going out to friends that assisted on it. And we'll do a separate video on that when I have time to really dig into it and talk about the process. But I also got 6 items for 1987 at a pretty good price. So we'll just run through those real quick. First up is the second in the Yasumira, I forget her first name, suspense games. I covered the first one in the last batch, and this will be the second game, so I'll be covering it because Catherine appears in both. I don't think she appears in the third, though, but I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to research that yet. And then I also got Esper Bosendu, something like that. It'll be down here. I don't remember exactly how to pronounce it without looking at it. And I don't have it in front of me because I'm doing this on a lunch break. But this is a sort of sequel to an arcade game that Jellico made, and Miho is a playable character on it. The rest is disk system stuff. So here is Doki Doki Panic Dream Factory, or something of that sort. This is the basis for Super Mario Bros. 2, but with Fuji TV characters. Instead of the Mario Brothers and Princess Toadstool and Toad. But I get to cover Mama and Lena and Birdo in that. So that'll be exciting. And then this is I Sensei Nicole, if I remember right. This is an overhead action game Konami made for the disk system. And I have this for Stella, who you couldn't really see super well on the cover, but she's there, I assure you. And then I got a manual and disc for Exciting Billiards. There's 2 women that you face off against in that, so that's why I have that. And last but not least is Esper Dream, which has 3 women of note that I'll be covering. And I got the sequel last time, and I'm just so stoked to have the original now, because it's actually one of the last games that Kinuyo Yamashita worked on. And that's what I got. We are so close to having 1987 all decked out with the proper game photos. I think there's 4 things left. So I'll be trying to fill those in 2022, because I am not ordering anything else for the rest of the year. I just, these all got to be such a, like, all of that was under $100, not counting the shipping. So it was just like, I need to go for it because this stuff's expensive. Like, Doki Doki Panic tends to go for like 40 or 50 bucks. I Sensei Nicole started at about 50 bucks. Esper Dream started at about 40, and it all just kind of weeded its way down to being about 30, and 30 for the more expensive ones. Esper Dream was like 25. Exciting Billiards was under 10, and the other 2 were under 10. So it all added up to do it now while I can. So I did. And that's it. That's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed the analysis on the Game Awards and the pickups. Lots of pickups this week. we will see you next week. It'll be the last episode of just topics until the awards begin, which will be New Year's weekend, because I'm going to take take Christmas weekend off, just as a heads up. So there will be a lot to be excited about in the next couple weeks. So until then, Ben and I say so long.